What is up, Ableton users? Jack here. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, welcome. It's my goal to help creative music makers get better at making music at home. Now, one of the things I've noticed that seems to be a common theme among beginner Ableton users or newer producers, and something I've seen in my students, is a lack of organization within the session. And I really feel like organization and neatness within our project files is super important, because when things are unorganized, it tends to take longer to find things, and it tends to really get in the way of creativity. And I don't want that. You don't want that. So today we're actually going to dive into one of my project files. I'm going to walk you through kind of what I do, some of the tips and tricks that I have to keep your session file clean and tidy so that you can just be creative and not distracted and nothing gets in the way, and you can get on to making the best music possible. So hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please like, comment, and subscribe below. Turn on that bell notification icon, because I really want you to stay up to date with all the new content that I'm putting out. But anyhow, without further ado, let's get into Ableton, and I will see you on the other side. Whoop. All right, producers, so here we are inside of Ableton. Now, this isn't a crazy big session or anything super fancy, but it is a project that I'm working on for my upcoming EP, so hopefully it'll be a good example of what I'm trying to illustrate here. The first thing I want to suggest is making good use of the markers inside of Ableton. So you can see I've got the whole track mapped out by section up here, and this is helpful in two ways. One, just visually looking at this, you know where you're at and you know what section's what, and it helps when it comes to arranging the different sections of the song and choosing what elements are in which part and whatnot. But the other thing too is I can actually quick jump to any of these sections by hitting the marker. It actually works as a play button. So for example, I could tap this here, and when I hit play, it's going to start right there. And then while it's playing, I can tap and it'll count in a different section. So if you're trying to work on it quickly and you want to just jump from part to part, really is nice to have those markers there. So right below that, I have an empty MIDI track that I've named Notes. And I don't do this every time, but I have done it before, and you see it here, and I do think it's a helpful thing to have. Just an empty MIDI track, I can keep it disabled, wrote notes on there, and then now here, because as far as I know, Ableton doesn't have any built-in notes section, I'll just create a new MIDI clip, Command-Shift-M, and then you can go up here, rename, or Command-R, and type in add synth layer. Basically, it just behaves like any other clip, and you can use it to take notes, set reminders for different parts of the song, so when you come back to the session, you know where you left off. I really wish Ableton had a built-in notes section where you could type in notes on a track or on a clip or somewhere. If anyone knows of a way to do that in Ableton, please let me know. As far as I know, there is no way, but maybe I'm wrong. You never know. Hey, if you're enjoying these tips and you're getting something out of this video, please leave a comment below and let me know what kind of video you'd like to see next. All right, so the next thing you've probably already noticed is that I'm a big fan of color coding, not only the tracks themselves, but also the sections. So what I like to do is follow the markers which define the song structure, and when I'm working on a track and I need to move through it quickly, having every section color coded really helps, especially color coding like sections together. So for example, chorus, those are all the same color. The breaks are the same color, the bridge is a different color, etc. If I need to edit one part, I know where I should copy it over or adjust and whatnot. So I do recommend color coding the sections based on how you have the markers set up and everything. But I also like to color code the tracks themselves. For example, this dark blue, I always use that for my drums. Light blue is always like an auxiliary percussion. This kind of fuchsia, magenta, this is my FX bus all the time. Guitar, I don't have like a set color for it yet, so I'm just using pink right there. Bass is usually this dark orange. Synth is usually a blue or a teal. And then I got these guys for these other elements. So definitely that helps a lot too, like keeping this all nice and organized. When I open up the buses, you'll see it's organized inside as well, which I just really feel helps my workflow and helps me stay focused and creative. So another organizational / workflow convenience tip that I recommend is never to actually automate the volume faders in Ableton. And I'll tell you why. What I actually recommend you do instead, and I'll show you an example on this track, use the utility device and automate the gain on the utility rather than the track volume itself. And it's really straightforward and simple, but if you look at this, I'll just show the automation. Got a little dip in the volume there, nothing crazy. But if I do the automation on the volume, you actually get locked out of this volume control. So later on when you're working on the track, let's say 50% of your tracks all have volume automation. When you start trying to do a mix of the track, it disables your automation. And if you're not ready to commit to freezing all the tracks and committing to that volume automation, it just becomes unusable. And what you end up actually having to do is you have to select the whole length of this track and then drag the whole thing up and down. And it's not convenient. It messes with the automation, and I'm just not a fan of it. So what I found out works really well is if you put the utility on the track and you automate the utility, you can have all the volume automation in the world, and while mixing, you can still adjust your track volume relative to the other tracks, and it will still follow your automation. All right, another super convenient organization tip is to make good use of the Places section in your browser. And there's a couple things you can do with this, not only just to see your sample folders, but I also like having links to all my project files in here. By default, the current project is set up here, and I love having this here too, just because there'll be a time where I delete something and then I decide later I want it back, but I've done too much between then and now, and I can't undo it because I'd lose my progress. So what I'd actually do is go back in the session, and you can do this for a backup or the main session. All these tracks right here, you just click one and drag it right into the session. So now I'm going to have a duplicate guitar bus, but the idea here is you can pull tracks or groups or buses from any session on your hard drive. So let's say you had like a drum loop or a drum groove that you made for a different project a while ago, and you wanted to pull it in to either use it or use it as an inspiration. You can go inside your project files folder, got everything laid out in here. You can find different projects, open it up, and drag in anything. So really do make use of this Places section. It saved my butt a lot. You can always add a folder, and it will pop up your computer browser here, and you can select what folders to add there. But definitely a super convenient thing and helps keep me fast inside of Ableton. All right, the final organization and workflow suggestion that I have for you today is that I really recommend making use of the default track states. And let me show you what I mean by that. If I go ahead and I insert an audio track, by default, I've got this little rack set up, and it's just called my audio effects rack. It's nothing fancy, but by default, I'm cutting 30 hertz and below because it tends to be muddy, especially on PA systems. And I've already got a utility loaded in. With this kind of setup, if I want to add effects, I'd either do it, insert them right here, or put them before the EQ. But this is really nice because I set this up in a way that every time I load up an audio track or a MIDI track, this is already on there, good to go. You could set this however you want. It doesn't have to stay like this. For example, you could have a new audio track, and then maybe, you really want to have a delay on there by default. You can drag that in, right click on the track, and then what you're going to do is save as default audio track. You'll click that, hit yes, and then now when I go right, insert new audio track, by default, that's all going to go there. Super easy, super convenient, and I really do recommend making use of that for sure. Well, Ableton friends, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. But really do especially like the video, because when you like videos, the algorithm sees that and it blesses the video and it pushes it out further so more people can benefit from this content. Your support means the world, and I wouldn't be here without you all, so thank you for that. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please stay indoors, stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you in the next upload.